Thamsanqa. I'm educated in many ways, but not in the clicks of Xhosa language. Thamsanqa and Tshuma. He's married to Miranda, and they have 2 children, Inantando and Iminati, and they are here today. And Thamsanqa, we know that the Lord has used you before, and I'm sure that He'll do that again this morning. We welcome you.
I greet you all in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ.
Amen.
And for those that are French, bon sabbat. How are you today, church? Good morning, church. And how are you today? Okay. I know that some of the fines are not true. Some of us are not fine, isn't it? It's just out of habit that we say we are fine, isn't it? Right. How many of you listened to the crime report that was given by the Minister of Police, Bheki Cele, just a few weeks ago? How many of you? 1, 2. Okay. Just another question. How many of you observed any xenophobic incidents in the past few weeks? Okay. How many of us actually watch news on television? Okay. And how many of us listen to 702 SAFM? Okay. Let me ask you, is it a bad thing to, as an Adventist, to listen to news and to watch news? It's not. You know, I ask this question on purpose. And the reason why I ask this question on purpose is this. Sometimes as Adventists, we live as if we live in our own world. As if there is nothing out there that affects us. We live as if there is nothing that we contribute to society but to come to church and be Adventists. And I want to challenge us this morning as Adventists and say to us, we live in this world to make a positive impact. We live in this world to make a godly impact in and around the communities that we live in. Can we turn to the book of Genesis chapter 12? Can we turn our Bibles to the book of Genesis chapter 12? And the questions that I've been asking will make sense as we go on and as we discuss this morning what we would like to discuss. And we are reading from the book of Genesis chapter 12, verses 1 to 3. Genesis chapter 12, verses 1 to 3. Now the Lord had said unto Abram, get thee out of thy country and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto a land that I will show thee, and I will make thee a great nation. I will bless thee and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee. And in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed. May the good Lord bless the reading of His word, now and forevermore. Amen. I want us to underline verse 3. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse them that curse thee. And in thee shall all, I want to emphasize, shall all families of the earth be blessed. And so, Abraham is born of a father who believes in God and yet also believes in idols. So Abraham lives in a home or in a house where there is 2 forms of worship. There is the worship of idols and there is worship of God. And so God decides, Abraham, I'm going to take you out of your comfort zone. I'm going to take you out of your land. And I'm going to take you to a place where I know I want to take you to. And I want you to live. And so when Abraham leaves that land, he lives with his half-sister who happens to be his wife. And he lives with his nephew, Lot. I want us to note that. And God says, I will make you great, and I will bless you. And anyone who blesses you, I will bless them. And anyone who curses you, I will curse them. And then God specifies again, he continues, and he says, through you, Abraham, he does not say the world, but he says, shall all families of the earth be blessed. And I found that very fascinating and very interesting. God is specific. He has got an intention. He knows what he wants to do. And the ultimate goal is that God wanted the families of the earth to be blessed. And the blessings were to begin with Abraham. Abraham had a family, and his family happened to be Sarah. And so God intended that the blessing that he gave to Abraham be transcended down to all families of the earth, right up to you and me. There is a promise, there is a blessing promised to all families on earth. And it is up to us as families whether we will make ourselves ready to embrace that blessing that God has promised to us through Abraham. And so, I want to talk a bit about family this morning. Maybe let me start by what Baby Tele said a few weeks ago. Did you know that contact crime in South Africa has risen in the past year from April last year, 2018, to March this year, has risen by 19%. Attempted murders in South Africa alone in this period were 18,000. They say most people in South Africa are murdered between Saturday and Sunday. Commercial crime has risen also significantly. It does not matter that you wear a tie and a jacket, but people who wear ties and jackets have become serious thieves. Crime has risen significantly. Road accidents have risen significantly. You will remember that yesterday, when the last time I listened to the news, 9 people perished along the N1. A few weeks ago, 10 people perished near the Woodmead off-ramp. Why? Because a taxi driver was speeding down the freeway. Because it was a Sunday and the roads were open. And he drove at breakneck speed. And 10 people just lost their lives just like that. We live in a country where you can no longer open the window of your car because you are afraid that somebody will rob you. There's smash and grab. We live in a country where you are afraid to drive down a certain road because people will not stop at the robots. We live in a country where the taxi drivers do as they please. We live in a country where people will loot. Hundreds of people will loot and only 2 will be arrested. We live in a country where rape rises year on year. Where women are no longer safe, whether at the workplace, whether at home. This is the kind of country that we live in. And I asked myself the question, why? Why are we living in such a terrible country? a country that possesses so much beauty, a country that possesses so much diversity, and yet we are listed as one of the most violent countries in the world. And so I went back to the books of history and tried to understand how we came to this situation. It was in the month of July 1914 that the world began what was known as the World War I. The Germans against the rest of the world. The Germans and their allies. The war was to continue up to 1918. Millions of people died. Millions of men died for a strip of land. If you read about the stories from World War I, they would put barbed wire on the ground like this, and the enemy would put barbed wire again opposite them, and they would dig trenches. And as they fought, hundreds of men died for a just of piece of land, maybe from the pulpit right up to the door. Hundreds of men just died for that land. Men died for no reason, reasons that they knew nothing about. Men died so that another man would rule. And to try and stop wars, the families of kings decided to intermarry. And marriage did not stop war. Because a few years later, September 1, 1939, the Germans began what was known as the Blitz of Europe. In 3 weeks, they had overrun Poland. They invaded France. They invaded all the American and the British allies. They bombarded the British to a point where the British almost died from starvation. And in those world wars, African men were taken to a war that they knew nothing about. And if you want to reverse a bit back, when the Europeans and the Americans came to Africa in the 1800s, they came to Southern Africa and they discovered that Southern African men were short. And yet the West African men were taller and stronger. And so what did they do? They took those men and women across oceans. And as they were traveling across the oceans, men and women perished because of diseases on those ships. And they reached lands. And in those lands, they were treated like slaves. And if you read into history, you will discover that they would pick up the strongest men and force them to breed with all the women as if they were taking charge of animals, so that those men would breed stronger and taller slaves. That is the kind of the world that we live in. And that war was to go on until August the 7th and August the 8th, when the Americans dropped the most devastating bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The Japanese were destroyed, not in their hundreds, not in their thousands, but in their millions. And the effect of that bomb continues up to this day. Some Japanese are born with defects because of the atomic bomb that was dropped in 1945. And as if that was not enough, in the 1950s began the most expensive and the longest war ever experienced by mankind. And the war continues up to today. The war between the North and the South Korea. If you want to know the most expensive war, go and research about the war between North Korea and South Korea. Billions have been spent. As if that was not enough, in the 1950s, mid-1950s, began the Vietnam War. Millions of soldiers died. Left, right, and center. The war was to continue until Richard Nixon became the President of America and he stopped the war. But those are not the only wars that we can talk about. We can come down to Africa. In Angola, when independence was obtained, Jonas Savimbi, the most known rebel in Southern Africa, Dlakama in Mozambique, there are still landmines that are killing people in Mozambique. They have uprooted most of the landmines. But the remains of that war, Zimbabwean soldiers were taken to Mozambique. They fought for a war that they knew no reason why that war existed. In the the former Zaire, a war was began in the mid-90s. And the war still continues in some way or the other in the DRC. You will remember that there was a war in the land of Rwanda, 1994, the Hutus and the Tutsis. Men and women were killed simply because we come from the two different tribes. Hunger devastated the land of Ethiopia. Let us come closer home. There was a system that was developed in the early stages of South Africa, known to us today as apartheid. And the effects of apartheid on the family were devastating. Gold and diamond were discovered in the ground. And what happened? Men traveled all the way from Malawi. Men traveled all the way from Zambia. Men traveled all the way from the Eastern Cape. From the Northern Cape, they traveled to Kimberley. They traveled to the gold mines of Johannesburg. And they were forced to live in hostels. What was the effect of these men traveling so long a distance? They lived in hostels, meaning that they could not live with their wives. They left their wives back at home. Wives were left to look after children. Wives were left to play the role of father and mother. And it is the same effect that happened during World War I and World War II. Whilst the men were fighting, the women were working in the factories, producing ammunition. The children were left at home without a father and a mother. In 2000, and I remember that there was a name known as Wenela, where men just left home and all they did, they went to work in the mines. I know of fathers who left their children and were never seen ever again. I know of a family where the father left one day and promised that I'm coming back. That man left his daughters at the age of 2, and he was to come back when his daughters were around the age of 30. And when he came back home, he came back with a bag that had his clothes only. His children had graduated and they were successful in life. And he had nowhere to go. And up to today, those children are looking after him. Yet they grew up without a father. We can tell stories of uncles who have raped their nieces in the African and in the European society. And those stories have been stifled. We can tell stories of fathers who have abused their own children. Why am I talking about this? God promises to bless the families of the earth through Abraham. And since the beginning of time, the devil has made it his intention that you and I receive not that blessing. We live in a time where families are stressed. In actual fact, one commentator writes and says, South Africans live in fear. And I want to ask a question. How many of you are not afraid when we go to bed at night? Afraid that somebody may break in and rob us? How many of us are not afraid when they enter into the roads? And you read the road carnage statistics, I know that people have been stealing money a lot from the road accident fund. But the number of accidents that go to the road accident fund tell you something about the way we think. We have become a reckless society. And so when people die on the roads, children are left without fathers and mothers. We live in a society where in 2007, the news headline recorded this: 9 million children in South Africa do not have fathers. In actual fact, the statistics show that 60% of children born today in South Africa are not using their father's surname. If you were listening to Metro FM yesterday, Drive Time, they were discussing about why their fathers who are not on their children's birth certificate. And there were so many women who phoned and said, the man disappeared. The man did not take responsibility of what he had done. We live in a time where more than a third of prisoners in South Africa are between the age of 18 and 25. Meaning that the strength of South Africa is not at work in the industries. The strength of South Africa is in prisons. We live in a time where there are TV programs like Khumbula Ekhaya, Please Step In, Utata. And you ask yourself, why do we have such programs? It is because there is a society looking for their fathers. There is a society that is looking for their mothers. There is a society that is looking for closure. I want to challenge, if there's a father sitting here today who has got a child that he is not taking care of, who has got a child that he has ignored, when we finish this sermon, go and look for that child and take care of them. Go and give that child identity. Because you owe it not to yourself, but you owe it to the Lord who art in heaven. If there is someone who is sitting amongst us here today who does not value family, I want to challenge you today. I grew up in a society where cousins were not called cousins, but they were called brother and sister. I grew up in a society where I could go next door and ask for sugar and salt. But I live in a society today where I can never ask for sugar and salt. If I dare ask for sugar and salt, I am on Twitter and I'm on Facebook. I live in a society where infidelity has become the norm. In actual fact, if you read the last report that was released by Statistics South Africa, it says 51% of divorces in South Africa are initiated by women. And the reason is because most men have practiced infidelity. And infidelity, I'm not talking about infidelity only outside the church. I'm talking about infidelity inside the church. There are 134,000 marriages per annum in South Africa. And the number keeps on reducing. The divorces that are recorded in South Africa are around 26,000. And it was in 2000, I can't remember the year, we had about 32,000 divorces. As I speak, last week, a colleague of mine signed the divorce decree. Why am I talking about this? The family is under attack. And I ask the question, as the family is under attack, what are you doing as a Christian about that attack? You will remember the story, and I want us to realize the effects of family on society. If you go to the book of Joshua chapter 7, as they the Israelites attack the city of Ai. Achan steals one of the things God had said, destroy all. And Achan steals and goes to his tent and puts those things that he has stolen under his tent. And what happens? God gives him a chance. Joshua, the Bible records in Joshua to say that at that point, Joshua, 36 men were killed at war. And Joshua goes to the Lord and cries and says, God, you promised us victory, yet 36 lives have been lost. And God says, one of you has sinned. And they start identifying by tribe. And in actual fact, it says they went to bed, and in the following morning, instead of Achan confessing his sin, the tribe of Judah was isolated. And at that time, instead of Achan confessing his sin, he continues holding on to his sin. Is there a father today who's holding on to a sin? Is there a mother today who's holding on to a sin? You are blocking the blessings of your family. Give up your sin. He who is holding on to a sin shall not prosper. He who is hiding their sin will not prosper. I want to encourage you, if you are holding on to a sin, confess it to the Lord today. And so, the family of Achan finally is isolated. And the family of Achan was stoned to death. Some of the families have been destroyed because of the decisions that were made today. Some sons and daughters are busy out there in the streets because of the decisions that our fathers and our mothers made. And some families will continue under a curse because when God has given you and I to break the curse that runs in our family, we have not done so. You will remember when you go to the book of 1 Samuel chapter 4, when priest Eli was supposed to be bringing his sons into line, priest Eli was so loving to his sons. And when his sons messed up the temple of the Lord, Eli did nothing. Until the Lord called Samuel and he said, I will do something that will make the ears of all who hear this tingle. And just to make it worse, the sons of Eli take the Ark of the Covenant to the war against the Philistines. Something that had never been done. And what happens? The Ark of the Covenant is captured by the Philistines. The two sons of Eli are killed. And when Eli hears that his sons have been killed, it says he fell backwards, he had even grown fat. He had ignored his own health, such that when he fell, he broke his neck and he died. The sins of fathers chase after sons and daughters. Is there a sin that you inherited from your father? Is there a sin that you need to break? I encourage you today, get down on your knees, confess that sin. I talk about it because I know the sins that I carry from my own father. But if you do not acknowledge those sins, they will keep you in prison. How important is family to you? When you destroy family, you destroy society. When you destroy society, you destroy the country. Government keeps on talking about reviving the economy. And my argument is that we don't need to revive the economy. We need to revive the family. And it is in this church that we begin to revive the family. A strong family means a strong church. A strong church means a strong society. A strong society means a strong community. A strong community means a strong country. What you see happening today in South Africa, in Zimbabwe, in Namibia, in Mozambique, in America is a reflection of a family that is broken down. At one time I went for an interview and I aced the interview. And then the interviewer says to me, if only you were part of my tribe, I would have given you this job. That is the kind of country we live in. I was walking with my wife one day, and one little child sees us. And this child says to the man, "Die swart mense. Those are black people." And I asked my wife, what did that child say? And my wife interpreted for me because she spoke in Afrikaans. We live in a country where children are not born racial, but they are taught racism. We live in a tribe where children are born not tribalists, but they are taught tribalism. What are you teaching your children today? Are you teaching them tribalism? Are you teaching them racism? If you are, woe unto you, because the Lord will deal with you. The blood of those children is upon your head. And so, we sing the song, stand up for Jesus. God is looking for a family that will do like Joshua. Joshua says, me and my family will stand for God today. God is looking for a family that will stand up for Him. And we sing the song that says, Jesus, keep me near the cross. Why should Jesus keep us near the cross? Because as we drift away from the cross, we become more and more evil. As we drift away from the cross, we lose all consciousness. We commit crime that is gruesome. As we drift away from the cross, we are never worried about taking away food from somebody's mouth. And I want to encourage us today, as we sing this closing song that says, turn your eyes upon Jesus. Why should we turn up our eyes upon Jesus? As the children of Israel were being struck by the snakes in the desert, when they turned their eyes to the cross that Moses had made upon the instruction of God, they were healed from the snake bites. If the devil has beaten you today, turn your eyes upon Jesus, because Jesus will heal you and I want us to value family. Family is the hub of society. Family is where all the blessings come from. Family is where the world will be blessed through. And I want to encourage us. I want to challenge the fathers especially. Men, be responsible men. Be accountable men. Be mature men. Act the way God has instructed you to be. Stop sitting at home and giving your wives problems. Let your wife be challenged by other things, not by you. I want to challenge all men. Represent God the way God has instructed you. God says, love your wives as Christ has loved the church. Go and read how Christ has loved the church and begin to love your wife as Christ has loved the church. And I want to say to the youth, the young men that are not yet married, do not impregnate a young girl. Do not ever sleep with a young girl before you marry her. Give her the dignity. Honor the Lord by making her a wife, marrying her, going to her parents and asking for the right to marry her. Do not practice what the world is practicing. 9 million fatherless children. I challenge the young men. Work. Stop playing video games. Start reading books. Start developing yourselves into better men. Make a difference in the society. Because once you become a responsible man, you will have a responsible family. And I want to challenge the mothers and the sisters. Mothers, the older mothers, teach the younger ladies how to respect their husbands, as the Bible says. Teach them how to be the kind of wife that will uplift their husbands to be better men. And I want to challenge the young ladies. Stop giving young men freebies. Be a resilient young woman. Stand firm. When a young man asks for something that he's not supposed to ask for, tell them, get thee away from me, Satan. I grew up in a generation where asking for a lady, when you wanted to talk to a young lady, you spent 6 months or a year gathering up the courage. And even when you got there and you asked her to be your friend, it took a year. These days they go on to WhatsApp. Hi, hey. Ladies, young ladies, don't make it easy for these young men to destroy your lives. Amen. Make it difficult. When a young man keeps on with you, only the one that values you will remain. Why? Because through you, we are building up society. We are building up the country. We are building up this nation. I challenge us as a church. Let us begin to make a difference. Small as it might be. Let us turn around South Africa. Let us make South Africa a better place. Let us begin to address crime, not in the streets, but let us address crime at home. Because criminals begin at home. In closing, a study was done. Somebody did a study in America. And they looked at prisoners. They discovered that they were prisoners with the same name, same surname. And they discovered that as the great-great-grandfather of those people that were in prison was living in America, this person had actually run away from Europe because they were a criminal. And when they got to America, they continued practicing crime. And they passed on that crime practicing to their son. And the son passed it on to the son, to the son, to the son. And they also discovered that fathers who had landed in America and worked hard, they passed on wealth to their sons. And the sons passed on that wealth to another son. What did they conclude from that study? They concluded that if you practice a certain thing, there's a 99% chance that it will be passed on to your children. And I ask us today, are we practicing godly practices? Are we doing godly things in our homes? If we are, then we are addressing crime in the streets of South Africa. Begitele won't need to give us a crime report that is shocking. Cyril Ramaphosa will not need to come up with a budget that solely addresses women abuse. A man who abuses women has never been taught to value and respect a woman at home. Think of it. How would you feel if your sister was abused? How would you feel if your mother was abused? I challenge us this morning. Let us be a godly family. Turn your eyes upon Jesus. May the good Lord bless us now and forevermore. Amen. Amen. Let us rise as we sing our closing song. I think it's hymn number 290. Turn your eyes upon Jesus.
Trouble, no light in the darkness.
us pray. Our kind and loving Father, what we ask for forgiveness, dear Lord, if we have abused the family structure. We pray, dear Lord, that you may put the value of family in our hearts. We pray, dear Lord, that you may transform our lives, that we may give up the sins, dear Lord, that have been blocking our relationship with you, dear God. We pray that may we be transformed as a church. And we pray for the families that are represented here. We pray for the single mothers, dear Lord. Help them as they raise sons and daughters, dear God. Give them wisdom, dear God, that they may raise sons and daughters who will be a good example of a godly child. I pray for families where there is father and mother, dear God. Give each one of them wisdom,